A Chinese emperor was actually studying the impact of alcohol on the public's health. He was curious why people did not live as long as they did before, and one of his people claimed, nowadays people use wine as a beverage, and they adopt reckless and unusual behavior. They devote all their attention to amusement of their mind, thus cutting themselves off from the joys of a long life. Their rising and retiring is without regularity. It's crazy how even 5,000 years ago, alcohol was having a negative impact on people's lives, and today it's still popular as ever. At this time, China was really on some other stuff, because not only were they investigating the impacts of alcohol on the public, but they were also bringing to market some of the most influential medicines of all time. During the Bronze Age, Emperor Sheng Nong discovered a wide range of medicines almost 5,000 years ago. These included the first caffeinated tea and ephedra, which was used to make amphetamines. Emperor Sheng Nong prescribed tea for malaria, rheumatism, and poor memory. Caffeinated tea was also commonly an antidote to poisonous effects of other herbs. Ephedra was a natural stimulant that helped with asthma and was probably used for other things too. There's a reason that people still reference ancient Chinese medicine today. Even back in the Bronze Age, they were really on their stuff. Besides the discoveries of opium and amphetamines and wine, there was obviously a ton of development going on with tobacco, beer, and psychedelics. Tobacco was being traded and cultivated, beer production was being improved, and shamans were using psychedelics as a gateway to the other side. Definitely an interesting time to be around. Similar to the Stone Age, all of these substances had similar purposes, with a primary focus on religious and medicinal benefits. Of course, with some leisure mixed in there as well. The Iron Age. At this point, human development is ramping up to full speed. And honestly, a lot of the plants that we've discussed are still very much favored and very much so in use, with the only real difference being the scale of production and cultivation, as well as the documentation of their benefits and use cases. One of the most commonly cited plants that we see in the Iron Age is something you're likely familiar with. It may be something you're enjoying right now, that being cannabis. During this time in history, cannabis use was widespread, and use cases vary drastically, and some of them are kind of funny. In Mesopotamia, several clay tablets were found in a library that contained references to cannabis. Most of these references indicated the plants were used for either magical healing purposes or to drive away evil spirits or even illnesses, which is interesting. On the contrary, over in China, the use of cannabis in medicine was very early in its development. But according to a famous early book on Chinese herbal medicine, known as the Divine Farmer's Metura Medicina, cannabis, if taken in excess, will produce hallucinations, literally seeing devils. On the other hand, moderate use over a long time has benefits. If taken over a long time, it will make one communicate with spirits and lightens one's body. Definitely an interesting interpretation of the plant, and I feel like they were smoking some strong stuff. During this time, opium is also traded among the Silk Road. No, not that Silk Road, the actual Silk Road. And I think one of my favorite pieces of history from this time period is this. In the year 3 BC, there was a drinking contest in Greece that led to the death of 41 people. It is reported that a Greek drinking contest revealed that 41 contestants died of alcohol poisoning. Oddly enough, the winner did not die, at least not immediately. He actually took home prizes which included more wine, but he only lived for 4 more days before dying. Absolutely insane that there was drinking contests in 3 BC, and also the fact that so many people died at the same contest. That is wild. Near the end of the Iron Age, alcohol became the prominent psychoactive substance during the Roman Empire. Catholic Christianity became the state church of the Roman Empire, and since
So they just said beer fest really ain't got nothing to be doing because, you can't drink yourself to death.
alcohol was often produced by abbeys and monasteries, it became the people's favorite. During this time, we weren't just limited to beer or wine. They also had introduced cider and mead as well. It was also around 100 BCE when Rome had caught up with Greece in wine production and trade. One interesting artifact that was found in the Iron Age are stones carved into mini mushrooms by the Guatemalans. A set of 9 mushrooms was found that is believed to be associated with the 9 lords of the night and gods of the underworld. One study of these miniature sculptures suggests that these stones may have been used to grind up the mushrooms to prepare them for ceremonial consumption, which is cool, but it's also crazy that they also depicted 9 lords of an underworld on their mushroom carving. They must have been seeing some stuff. It was also at this time when Plato argued that alcohol is a good test of someone's character. Plato argued that drinking with someone is the simplest, fastest, and most reliable way to test someone's character. This is because wine stimulates the emotion, including desires or pleasures of questionable moral worth. So if you want to get to know someone else's character, or even your own character, according to Plato, get drunk. Interestingly, in Asia, the Persian king advised his army to take advantage of their opponent's lack of experience of alcohol to defeat them. It literally used feast and alcohol as a military strategy. The idea was if the Persians were able to provide their enemies with large, generous portions of lamb and large amounts of wine in which they had no experience with, they would become so infatuated with the feast and compelling feeling of the drink that they would be too distracted to even compete with the Persians in accomplishing great things. Definitely an interesting strategy. Chewing coca leaves was still popular as ever in the Iron Age, and they even